Welcome to today's Q Master class on Q Edge. I am Sagan Nandi. You already have my detail. Let's start with the disclaimer. I am not an investment advisor. This demonstration is for educational purposes only. It is not a trade recommendation. Trading involves risk. You and only you are solely responsible for the outcome of your trades. In Q Master class, we are going through all the Q components one by one and also the underlying platforms. Today we'll cover Q Edge, that is used for sector industry rotation analysis. Topics: what is Q Edge, underlying platform and data, market and country applicability, how it is organized, conventions, input parameter, smart action button, stock scorecard, smart filter buttons, live walkthrough and trading workflows. Q&A is throughout the session. You may use the chat panel or you may use the microphone if you would like to do that. Q Edge, it is very unique in several ways. One is it is 100% real-time tool to start your top-down analysis. It has different layers of information. In the beginning, homepage provides market insight, that is sector, industry, stock, advanced decline breadth graph over multiple periods. This shows how breadth is changing. This is something that is not visible by studying the market ETFs or market futures. It is not also available in Q Global Market Breadth. Q Global Market Breadth shows market internals from a different perspective, however, not from sector, industry, stock, advanced decline angle. Q Edge is the only tool that I know of that provides such insight in 100% real time. The market level insight also includes the bucket analysis graph that shows how stocks are distributed between overbought and oversold buckets. So for any country, any market, let's say USA market, for USA market, Q Edge uses S&P 1500 stocks. If we took all the stocks and then distributed into 10 buckets, equidistant buckets, depending on where they are in their Bollinger Bands. If it is at the lower Bollinger Band, we'll put it in bucket 1, upper Bollinger Band, we'll put it in bucket 10. Then all stocks above upper Bollinger Band, we'll put it in greater than 10 bucket. All stocks below lower Bollinger Band, we'll put them less than 1 bucket. So total 12 buckets. If we put all the stocks in these 12 buckets and drew a histogram using the percentage of stocks in each bucket, that is what bucket analysis shows, and it shows the data in real time. It can be used as a market level overbought, oversold indication, and it can also show whether the market is bullish or bearish. And on top of that, it shows changes relative to previous day. So we can immediately see whether compared to one day earlier, is the market getting stronger or weaker. That was available from sector, industry, stock, advanced decline breadth also. So both advanced decline breadth as well as bucket analysis not only shows today's insights in real time, but it also compares today's data with previous day's data. Then for market level insight, Q Edge provides the sector graphs, how the sectors are performing over multiple periods. And this is an important comment. The more you observe this day after day, the more tuned you will be with the market's moves and possible changes. You will often be able to anticipate the change that is coming. because you are not only looking at the market futures, market ETFs, but looking at sector, industry, stock, advanced decline breadth. So it is not just ETFs, futures, but across sectors, across industries, how things are changing, and plus the bucket analysis. The more you watch, the more you'll be able to anticipate changes. You will avoid buying when the market is already overbought and avoid shorting when market is oversold. Instead, you will look for reversal trades at those corners. That is the market level insight that QH provides. And then, of course, it provides the sector industry rotation analysis in real time. It shows that rotation in two ways. One, using relative scorecard, that is industry scores relative to each other, and then the performance table in itself, if the industry is going up or down and by what percentage. That is sector industry rotation analysis. Once you look at the sector industry rotation analysis, you may align that with your trades. And if you are looking into stronger industries, then you may drill down to the stock scorecard to find best performing stocks. And if you are looking at weaker industries, you may drill down into stock scorecard to look for weaker fundamental stocks. The stock scorecard is a comprehensive yet intuitive scorecard for stocks fundamentals using color coding and heat maps, further organized into panels. I'll go through the panels later. How I typically use QH is to find strong or weak sectors or industries in real time. I look at the sector strength, weakness. However, usually I start my top-down analysis from the industries level, not the sector level, because sectors sometimes hide an industry's strength. It averages out multiple industry strengths, and sometimes, though they belong to the same sector, the industries may be non-correlated. For example, material sector, I often take this example. Material sector has gold. It also has steel, not coal. Maybe in the last webinar, I might mistakenly said coal, but it has materials, has gold, steel, as well as forest products. They are not correlated. So looking at the sectors, we may miss the time when gold is starting to pick up or when steel is starting to weaken. That's why I look at the sector scorecard to have an idea which sector is strong, which one is weak. But I start my top-down analysis from industry level. From the sector and or industry scorecard, we can drill down to major stocks within those sectors and industries in QH itself. Major stocks, that is for USA market, S&P 1500 stocks are available in QH. And if we want to expand our trading universe, then we may use the integration with QVital to drill down to any liquid stock for the industries of our interest or sectors of our interest. If we use QVital, then peers are not restricted to S&P 1500 for the USA market. Now, S&P 1500 doesn't have all liquid stocks. Some of the stocks are illiquid. So for trading, if you are looking to trade only liquid stocks, then you may look at sectors and industries, then start your top-down analysis, drill down from industry level, and then instead of looking at the stocks from QH, you will look at the liquid stock scorecard in QVital. So you will drill down from QH to QVital, and I will demonstrate how to do that. That way, we may use the liquid stock as our trading universe. We don't have to drill down to some S&P 1500 stocks, think of trading it, and then find out that, oh, it is not liquid enough. We are able to drill down to exactly our trading universe, whatever that may be. We can also use the integration with QFinder or Sonar. QFinder, part of Q Global on Metastock. Sonar, part of Q Elite on TradeStation, to check technical signals and trade setups. We may then confirm the technical setups by looking at technical charts using Global and Elite using the built-in integration. And then finally, if we are interested to check seasonality, we may use the integration between QEdge and QSeason to check seasonality. The integrations together identify 360 degrees trades where all the forces are aligned in our favor. Underlying platform and data, QEdge runs on Microsoft Excel 64-bit, on Microsoft Windows 64-bit, 32-bit versions also work. It is suggested that you do not save the Q system, QEdge in this case, while using it. After using QEdge, when you exit, usually Microsoft will prompt you whether you want to save or not. Please do not save. That is to avoid inadvertently making changes and corrupting the system. And everything is 100% real time. We never store any data on our computer. Therefore, it is not required to save anyway. And QEdge, like all the other icon-based Q systems, works in 100% real time. In fact, that is true for Q Elite and Q Global as well, the technical analysis components. Country market applicability. Of course, it works in the USA market. It can also be used for all major global markets where enough market depth is available to calculate sector industry rotation. So it is available for Australia, China, India, United Kingdom, etc. And if a country is very small, for example, like Singapore, where the stock market is very small, breadth is not enough stocks with diverse sectors, industries are available for such smaller countries and markets, you may use Q index as an alternative. Poor man's alternative, you may say, to QEdge to see which sectors and industries are stronger or weaker. How to use Q index as an alternative to QEdge? Poor man's alternative. Nowhere near as powerful as QEdge, but if we don't have the market breadth that we need to calculate sector industry rotation analysis, we may use Q index for those smaller countries and markets. I already explained how to do that in the session on Q index. I will not cover that today. I will focus on QEdge. Organization. QEdge is organized into tabs. These are user views. Edge calculations are carried out in the cache in real time. Cache is invisible to the user. Views are visible. User views are for viewing and then filtering, selecting, acting upon the data using intuitive smart action buttons, and then further using smart filter buttons. What are the tabs in the views? First is the home tab that provides the market level insight using sector, industry, stock, advanced decline breadth, that also using bucket analysis. If you scroll down into the home page, then you will also find the sector performance analysis graphs across multiple time periods from real time to 1 month. And if you wanted, you could make graphs for longer periods as well. But for short-term trading, even for position trading, real time to 1 month analysis is enough to see which sector industry are strong now or weak, and then decide trades based on that. So from the home page, you get an idea about the market. Is the market bullish or bearish in terms of sector industry stock advanced decline breadth, and bucket analysis and sector performance. Then we use the sector and industry tabs to check the relative strength of sectors industries and also see the absolute performance of the sectors and industries. There are many tabs. They provide insight on primary sector industry as well as secondary sector industry. Secondary sector and industry tabs are with the suffix to. I will show you the tabs later. So we are able to do top-down analysis starting with primary sectors or secondary sectors. Primary sectors are using a different classification scheme than secondary sectors. What are these classification schemes? This could be many. I don't remember exactly which one is which, but in the market, there are many classifications like Reuters or Refinitiv classification, Dow Jones classification, maybe Standard and Poor's classification. IBD may have their own classification of which stock belongs to which industry and sector. So QH uses two classifications. One is the primary one. Why it is called primary is because it has more depth. For USA market, currently it is about 100, I think it's 147 industries at present, but it calculates everything dynamically. Tomorrow, if new industry stocks are listed in the USA market, then it will go up. And if all the stocks in an industry goes away from the USA market, then the number of industries will come down. Everything is done dynamically. We don't hard code anything. Most of the things are 100% real time and calculated automatically. So using two classification schemes, we have sector industry rotations. Primary has more depth, 147, and secondary has, for industries, not 147, but less depth. That's why I call it secondary. There is no other reason. Primary has more depth than secondary in terms of industries. In terms of sectors, both primary and secondary classifications have same number of sectors, but they are not the same. You will see later that secondary classification has a sector related to educational services, but primary classification doesn't have it. So if you are looking into education related stocks, then you may use the sector level first for secondary classification and then drill down from there. And if you are using primary classification for education services, that is also possible. Those are at the industry level. There is no separate sector for education services. Usually I use the primary classification, primary industry and primary sector for a stock. What is the exception? The exception is cases where a stock has business in both classifications. And one example I often take is that some solar energy stocks, they are classified as semiconductor stocks in primary classification, but that doesn't look right if you read the business description where the revenue is coming from, etc. In that case, instead of checking the primary industry to assess whether industry is strong or weak, primary being semiconductor, you would actually look at secondary industry, maybe solar energy industry. That will be more appropriate to assess if solar stocks are in strong industry at present or not. So usually primary industry, except in cases where the primary industry of a stock you feel is not adequately representing the stock. And after the market level comes the sector industry level, then the stock level. You have stock scorecard for S&P 1500 stocks in the stock tab. And lastly, graph. That tab shows the industry relative score graph and also industry actual performance graph over last couple of days, including today's real-time performance. Over real-time to 5 days, is the industry becoming stronger or weaker? you may use the graph tab to look up best worst performing industry graph from QEdge itself. Most of the time it is used in a different way, that is to look up a stocks industry graph from QVital. But you could look up a stocks industry graph from QEdge as well. Both are possible. Why I say most of the time it is used, at least by me, most of the time I use it by coming to graph from Vital. Why did I say that? Because if I'm using QEdge, usually I'm doing top-down analysis. If I'm starting my trading workflow from QEdge, I'm doing top-down analysis. So I'm looking at strongest sectors, but not drilling down. I'm looking at industries, then drilling down from there and going to stocks. So by the time I come to the stocks, I already know that I am in a strong sector, or at least in a strong industry. That is more important for my trading. So I don't need to look at the graph. But if I'm starting with QVital, then I'm starting with probably fundamental first workflow. Then I would like to know how the industry is doing. And then I may look at the graphical form of the industry's performance first. That is why I mentioned that technically you may come to the graph insight from QEdge also and QVital also, but usually in real life you may use it more from QVital. Those are the views. What is the convention? I'll go through it quickly. It is same for all the Q systems, Q type systems. Tab name. If the name is in full capital, usually it is not available for editing filtering. If it is not in full capital, usually it means you can view, select, filter, delete the data. Input fields and parameters are in green checkered background. Status fields are in yellow background or yellow text. In QEdge, they are in yellow text. Smart action buttons, they are used to calculate, navigate, and select within the current app. Then they are in cyan. If the smart action button takes you to a different app, external app, then the button is in orange color. So looking at the button color, we know whether it is going to keep us within QEdge, that is cyan, or it is going to take us outside QEdge, that is orange. And then pause, play, smart filter, reset, refresh buttons, these are black color. Smart action buttons take some action. Eventually they populate the scorecard, stock scorecard, and then we use the smart filter buttons to act on stock scorecard. The smart filter buttons, if they are bullish, they are in cyan, green, olive color, bearish, magenta, red, orange, and neutral is yellow. The stock scorecard data or insight itself has coloring convention. Cyan or green is bullish. Cyan is usually more bullish than green. Magenta, red, bearish. Magenta is usually more bearish than red. Yellow is neutral. In fact, these three color schemes are uniform not only across type systems, but also across Q Elite and Q Global charting platforms. For radar and even for Finder also, the same color convention has been followed to make it intuitive, and we can respond to different systems in the same way. And for the stock scorecard, when we are looking at scores like valuation score, fund score, etc., they use the three color scheme of cyan, magenta, yellow. And fundamental numbers like earnings growth, PE ratio, etc., they are in color scheme green, red, yellow. Again, that was intentional so that just by looking at a column, you know that is it a score, meaning is it relative to other stocks, or is it fundamental number or ratio that is not relative to other stocks. It's a number in itself for that stock. For sorting, double click on any column header to sort by that column, double click again to reverse the sort order. And if QEdge is running, and because we are discussing QEdge, of course it will be running, we may use the hotkeys also, Control-Shift-H to highlight rows, Control-Shift-A to sort by ascending order, Control-Shift-D to sort by descending order. These are the conventions. They make it very intuitive to work with QH. Inputs, country, choose USA or any of the other major global stock markets. That's the only input. Then there is one engineering input, tuner. Usually you don't need to change it. Sometimes for some countries during pre-market hours, some stocks price may change. That may appear as real-time data in Q analytics, though the regular hours have not started yet. If you don't want that, then temporarily until the regular market is open, increase the tuner value to a value greater than threshold. Threshold is a value shown on the home page. Mostly only the country input field is required. Now let's go through the smart action buttons. Smart action buttons are used to process view highlight data, navigate within the current app, or integrate with communicate data to and navigate to external apps. The external apps for QH will be Global Elite Finder Season. Not Edge. For Edge, it will be Global Elite Finder Season and Vital. Not Edge, but it will be Q Vital. Integration with external app is context sensitive. The system understands the context intuitively. One example, selecting one or multiple stocks will send those stocks to Q Vital. If we select one stock and link with Q Vital, it will carry out a peer analysis of that stock. If we select multiple stocks, it will calculate a scorecard of those stocks. And if we select no stock, it will simply navigate to Q Vital homepage. Such context sensitive behavior is available not only for linking to Q Vital, for many other smart action buttons as well. Now the smart action buttons, home button takes you to the home tab from any other tab. On the home tab, if available, it clears the input, but QH does not have a home button on the home tab. It is there in the other tabs. So clicking home tab from any other tab will take us to the home tab for QH. More buttons. QH is a unique system that allows you to look at sector indices rotation using two parallel, as I mentioned, primary and secondary, but distinct perspectives, the primary and secondary sectors as well as industries. Usually I use the primary rotation when primary industry does not reflect the stock properly. I use the secondary industry rotation. For sector rotation, I usually use the primary sectors unless a sector is available only in the secondary classification. As I mentioned, that is true for educational services. That is a sector available in secondary classification, but not in primary classification. The smart action buttons for sector, industry, scorecard, and performance tables are this. The cyan buttons are usually related to scorecard. Concentric circle cyan color, you know it is sector. Relative scorecard, and concentric circles green color, that is the other color scheme, not cyan, green, so it is performance. Alternates are in non-bold case. So cyan color is alternate sector scorecard, and then green alternate sector performance. Two gears represent industries. So cyan 2 gears industry scorecard, green gears industry performance, and alternates are in non-bold buttons. Cyan again for alternate scorecard and green for alternate performance. So we use these buttons to drill down from sector to industry or navigate from one tab to another tab. When we carry out a peer analysis, cyan button keeps us inside the application. So this is used to drill down for sector or industry two stocks in Q Edge. Cyan button keeps us inside the current application. So that is Q Edge, and Q Edge has S&P 1500 stocks for the USA market. And if we want to carry out a peer analysis, fundamental scorecard evaluation using the orange color button, we know orange color will take us to another application. Which application does fundamental analysis? That is QVital. So we have two peer analysis button. The cyan one looks at stocks in QH, that is S&P 1500 stocks, and using the magenta or orange button, not magenta, orange button, we may look into QVital. The Finder button integrates with QFinder to look up technical signals, seasonality, integrates with Season to look for seasonality analysis. Pause real-time retrieval from Refinitiv for saving processing power and memory, and play to start the real-time retrieval from Refinitiv. Once that is done, Q is processing all the time. There is no separate action to be taken for starting Q. Refresh button is used to refresh the data from cache. Usually we don't need to use it, because when we use the smart action buttons, like we drill down from market, that is home tab, to sectors, to industries, to stocks, those action buttons always looks at cache and gets the latest stock scorecard, industry performance, industry scorecard, sector scorecard, everything it gets from cache, calculates in real time. So usually we don't need to explicitly use the refresh button, but if you want to use it, it is there. When you may use it, sometimes on the stock scorecard, or it is possible to do that in industry scorecard or sector scorecard also. If you deleted some rows using the delete button, or maybe the scissors button to focus on certain rows only, and after that investigation you want to start with the fresh data, then you may sometimes use the refresh button, but usually you don't need it if you are doing top-down analysis. The smart actions buttons automatically refreshes everything from cache, so that you always see the latest inside, and there is a date time stamp available on each tab that shows when it was last retrieved from cache to calculate that tab. More smart action buttons. Top 10 button highlights the top 10 rows, removes all smart filter. Sometimes I use it to first sort by, for example, descending order. So the best performing stocks come to the top, and then click the top 10 button to highlight the top 10 stocks. And then I may read the industries to see which industry stocks are there. Also look at the scorecard. Are growth stocks more in the top 10 stocks, or are value stocks more, or something else? Sometimes junk stocks may be in the top 10 stocks as well, meaning neither growth nor value stocks. Of interest or highlight button highlights the rows of interest, makes it easy to read the rows, especially when they are non-adjacent. And if you further want to remove clutter, you may use the scissors button that will cut and keep only highlighted stocks. And as I mentioned, if you cut some of the rows, after that investigation is complete, you may use the refresh button to get the data from cache. One gear is for industry graph. Two gears I showed earlier is for industry scorecard or performance, and one gear is used to look up the industry graph. The radar button or grid button is used to export ticker symbols. Though Edge uses Refinitiv symbols, when we use this button, it will export equivalent ticker symbols for using in QElite Sonar. If it is a single stock, you could use it in QElite charts also, but usually it is used to link with Sonar to read all the real-time signals and setups. The chart button is used to open charts in QGlobal on MetaStock. You can see the buttons that take us out of the application, they're in orange color. The ones that keeps us inside the application are in cyan color. Stock scorecard, then the action buttons, smart action buttons calculate the scorecard. All the scorecards, not only stock, but sector industry scorecard also, populated using smart action buttons and filtered using smart filter buttons. It's organized into distinct panels. Mostly I use the vital scorecard 80 to 90% of the time. If you wanted, you could get more detail from other panels, total 6 panels. Price performance panel shows 1 year to 1 day and then real-time performance during market hours. Growth panel shows earnings and revenue growth for last 5 years and then last 4 quarters, very detailed. Fundamental ratios and numbers, all the important numbers, ratios are in this fundamental panel. Basic information panel has basic information about the stock like market cap, average volume, next EPS date, etc. Filter panel is used by the smart filters, is for internal use. Why I used only vital scorecard 80 to 90% of the time is because the key insights from all the other panels are included in vital panel. That is how it was designed, so that the first panel we see that serves our purpose most of the time. Smart filter buttons, they're used to act on the scorecard to filter and sort stock scorecard using smart criteria. Works on the view. By design, they do not refresh the data from cache, so that when we are in the middle of the investigation, our data that we are sorting, filtering, deleting even doesn't get refreshed. By design, they do not read from the cache. Most smart filters have a bullish and an equivalent but opposite bearish button. Let's go through the buttons quickly. Reset button associated with each filter group. Some groups have only one button. A reset associated with a group resets only that group's filter. Then we have the combo selections based on valuation and earnings growth. Crown jewels, most fundamentally strong or the worst, the most weak, most strong or most weak. Undervalued stock with high earnings growth and revenue growth. Overvalued stock with negative earnings growth, revenue growth, bullish, bearish. Less restrictive is 3-star. Bullish is undervalued with high earnings growth. Bearish is overvalued with negative high earnings growth. And then less restrictive, 1-star, either undervalued or high growth for buying, and either overvalued or negative earnings growth for shorting. As I mentioned in other sessions, usually for buying, I never go beyond 1-star. I need at least 1-star candidate to buy. For shorting, I am okay to ignore the fundamentals if the industry is weak and if the stock is giving a proper technical short setup. So for shorting, I may go beyond 1-star, but for buying, I don't do that. For buying, I always stick to at least 1-star. And in the USA market, there are plenty of 1-star buying candidates. So there is no real need for me to go beyond 1-star fundamental stocks for buying. Other than the combo buttons, we have a series of buttons across different categories. For valuation, we may look for undervalued stocks or overvalued stocks or medium valued stocks. Then for growth, we have quarterly earnings growth buttons. Again, the top ones are more stringent, more restrictive. Extreme high positive earnings growth, bullish. Extreme high negative earnings growth, very bearish. Then 3 successive quarters of high positive or 3 successive quarters of high negative, bullish, bearish. Less restrictive, 2 successive quarters and then one quarter positive or negative. Then quarterly earnings growth reversing from negative to positive. Those can be buying candidates, and shorting candidates can be those which are reversing from positive to negative. And even less restrictive, even the sign is not changing, but earnings growth is improving, that is bullish, and earnings growth is worsening, that is bearish. So a stock's earnings growth may still be negative, but it is less negative than it was before. That is an improvement in quarterly earnings. That may be positive, and that may also lead to a stock's up move. So we are able to filter for that. Topmost ones more restrictive, lowermost ones less restrictive. These are quarterly earnings growth smart filters. And then we have a similar set for annual earnings growth. 3 successive years, high positive or high negative, 2 successive years, high positive, high negative, bullish, bearish respectively. Then last year, high positive, high negative. And then similar to the quarterly earnings growth, yearly, reversing from negative to positive, that is bullish, reversing from positive to negative, that is bearish, and even less restrictive, improving is bullish and worsening is bearish, even if the sign does not change. Then for quarterly revenue growth, similar filters, 3 successive quarters high positive bullish, or 3 successive quarters high negative revenue growth, that is bearish, and similarly for 2 successive quarters and 1 quarter. If you use the growth filters together, you are able to implement the box stocks as used by HGSI traders. And then we have the valuation score, so you may further fine tune your selection. One category of stocks I like to buy often is undervalued with high earnings growth. Those are 3-star candidates in the combo filter. And if there are plenty of 3-star candidates on a given day, then I may even go for crown jewels, that is undervalued with high quarterly earnings growth as well as revenue growth. So I love to trade the 3 stars. Crown jewel is even better, but 1 star is good enough. I want to emphasize that 1-star fundamental stocks are good enough because those are well-established criteria for fundamental traders, investors to buy stocks. What are those two? Either buy value stocks or growth stocks. Both are possible. There are plenty of high net worth individuals and funds who focus on either value or growth. So either of those categories is good enough. And then we have smart filters for both of them, that is 3-star, and we may even go to revenue to make them crown jewels. I use live systems in all the weekly roundups to find crown jewels, find 3-star, 1-star. And I will demonstrate today also, and you may watch the weekly videos to see how I'm applying them every week in real time. More smart filters, institutional ownership or fund ownership is important. HGSI traders may use it, but IBD traders use it all the time. It's an important factor for IBD traders. We have that filter when fund ownership is bullish. Does not mean that funds have owned enough already, but here the green button filter stocks where funds may be more likely to buy going forward as well. So not that they are just holding, they are more likely to buy. That is what is meant by fund ownership, bullish, and then opposite is bearish and yellow is neutral. If I am investing for longer term, then I would like to have fund ownership as green, at minimum yellow. For longer term investing, I'll avoid buying stocks where fund ownership is bearish, because I'm trying to align more and more forces with my trade's favor. For short-term trading, it may not matter so much, but for longer-term investment or even for position trading, where the holding period is not one swing of a stock, multiple swings, maybe holding for few weeks to few months, then also you may avoid stocks with fund ownership red. Then we have a smart filter for quarterly revenue. It is usually used for newer IPOs to make sure that stocks are selling something of value before we invest in them. For established stocks, this is not required because this has a very low threshold, useful only for new IPOs. Short squeeze, quite useful. If a stock is breaking out on technical charts, maybe also from a technical squeeze, breaking out from that, and it has a fundamental short squeeze based on short interest, those may lead to powerful rallies. So sometimes you may filter for short squeeze, especially on days when you have plenty of stocks to look at for buying. Then you may reduce the list by using short squeeze filter, then using the fund filter, etc. So you may start with 1 star or 3 star, and if you see plenty of stocks, you may then apply the fund ownership criteria, make it more stringent to reduce the list, then use short squeeze to reduce the list further. Earnings nearby filter, it's important to look at stocks earnings date before buying. If it is too close to earnings, we don't like to buy. For swing trading, we don't like to buy the stocks just before earnings, but options trades are possible, and some options trades rely on earnings period, like iron condor trades. So you are able to look for them using the earnings nearby smart filter. Then some sorting buttons, they don't really filter anything out. They sort the data, sort by today's percentage change, and today is understood intelligently to be real time during market hours, 1 day after market hours. Bullish short, that will bring the stronger moves, the biggest moves to the top. Bearish short, it will get the most negative or down stocks to the top. Sometimes just percentage change is not enough. People like to look at stocks that are moving significantly up or down with volume. In that case, you may sort by pressure. Again, they don't filter out anything. The bullish pressure sort will get the stocks with most bullish moves, both in terms of percentage change as well as volume to the top. And bearish pressure will get the bearish pressure stocks to the top. Combination of percentage change and volume. And up and down filters will simply filter stocks that are moving up today or moving down today. Again, today is understood intelligently by the system depending on whether market hours is there or not. During market hours, it will be real time. After market hours, it will be 1 day. Those are the smart filter buttons. Now let's go to QEdge and use all the buttons one by one. This is QEdge. Let's look at the views. In Cache, everything is calculated in real time, and what we see is the view. Home tab provides market level insight, and you may scroll down below using page down. Usually I use the page down button on my keyboard. You could also use the scroll bar at the right hand side, but you may use the page down button. It is faster. I use that. If you page down on the home page, you will see sector performance analysis graphs. I will show that. Why don't I show that? Home tab, if I page down, first it shows, I always say it is very, very useful. The more you study this, what I mean by study, more you glance at it, just a glance will also do. Just spend 1 minute on it, 30 seconds on it every day. This 1 month to 1 day, and then real time, sector, industry, stock advance decline. Just looking at it every day for 30 seconds will hone your skill, kind of intuition, where you may be able to anticipate a move. You may not execute a trade based on that anticipation, but you will get ready, you will plan your trade, decide your sizing, decide your instrument, whether options or vertical or naked option, short put or buy the stock. All those things you will be ready with, probably fill up the Q diary with that plan in anticipation of what may happen. And the more you study this sector industry advanced decline breadth, 1 month to 1 day, then real time, along with the bucket analysis and few other detail, you will be able to anticipate the market moves, I will say, better than most other traders. And if you scroll down further, you will see the sector performance across different periods. So this is real time and 2-day percentage changes of the 11 primary sectors. If you scroll down further or page down further, you will see 5-day, 10-day, 1 month sector performance. And if you see today, as of today, 5-day, 10-day, 1 month is very bullish, isn't it? Most of the bars are above the zero line. So immediately, just by looking at the picture, you know that lately the market has been very strong. Is that the best time to buy? No, probably, because everything is very bullish now. If you watched the market level insight from Q, Edge, Home tab every day, you would have bought stocks long before. If you see, for example, financials is up over 1 month, up over 10 days, up over 5 days. Same is true for industrials. Same is true for infotech. Same is true for materials. Same is true for even real estate, defensive sector, consumer discretionary. All are strong across 5-day, 10-day, 1 month. Now, if a novice trader looks at it, they may jump into buying now. But a Q trader will look at it and say that I bought that energy stock already. That was the right decision. Now it is very strong for a long time. Maybe I will book some profit. Most likely those stocks have hit the profit target, just like some of the stocks I shared in energy sector, ExxonMobil, I shared before knowing the result, hit the profit target already. Now it is very strong. But now I am not buying. I already bought earlier. And also this is showing that healthcare is weak. Looking at that, a Q trader will keep an eye on healthcare. That is it starting to accelerate on scorecard. Same is true for utility. So we may be able to catch the turnaround of sectors, then drill down into industries, catch the turning around. In these two cases, it will be turn around upward industries, and then we may even look for turnaround stocks using Q technical setups that are reversal setups like bounce, box, headwind. We have 3 reversal setups. Pullback, in a way it's reversal, but it's also a trend following trade setup in a way. So the more you look at the sector performance graphs across different periods, you will be able to anticipate a sector move and get into a stock into that sector, I think well ahead of others. And the more you spend 30 seconds every day on the 1 month to 1 day, then real time secondary stock advanced decline breadth, and then the home graph showing the bucket analysis, you will be able to identify possible turnaround at the market level well ahead of others, mostly well ahead of others. Again, you may not execute a trade based on that, but you may be ready. So those insights are available in homepage. I always suggest keeping Q Edge in streaming mode throughout the market hours. I switched off streaming. I click the play now. So instantly it connected with Refinitiv, now retrieving data, and all these graphs, and also if I scroll down the real-time sector industry advisory, these graphs will keep on updating in real time. Here, let's go through these graphs. These are very, very powerful insight. And again, if you look at it over months, you will start to anticipate moves to a large extent. The bucket, I explained what bucket analysis is. Take all the S&P 1500 stocks, put them into 10 equidistant buckets and then 2 extreme buckets depending on where they are relative to their upper and lower Bollinger Bands. Calculate the percentage of stocks in each bucket, draw the histogram, and the solid line is in real time. It is showing in real time, and the dotted line is yesterday. So looking at the bucket analysis in real time, you know how the stocks are moving relative to their Bollinger Band. I have selected United States and I can see the stocks in the extreme upper bucket actually went up. At the same time, stocks in the extreme lower bucket also went up, but not by that big a margin. So in the most extreme bucket, which were already above upper Bollinger Band, they became stronger. But some of the other categories to the right of the mid Bollinger Band. So from 6 onwards, it is to the upper side of the mid Bollinger Band. 5 below is below mid Bollinger Band. And we can see from this color, light green to dark green, that this category, for example, bucket 9, yesterday there were more buckets, more stocks in that bucket. Today it came down. So just by looking at the profile using the dotted line and the solid line, you don't have to think too much about it. You just look at it every day. You will start to see how things are moving, changing randomly, or there is a smooth change from left to right or right to left, or sometimes it may be like this, up down, doesn't mean anything. So there is no clarity. Some buckets are going up, some buckets are going down, again next bucket going up, next bucket. So stocks are very indecisive, and when we have a more smooth pattern like this, we know that it is more bullish. Of course, that is first thing we know, that the green buckets are bigger than the red buckets. And then we look at the shift from dotted line or dashed line to solid line to see how today is changing. And it seems that today is also bullish, but some stocks at some 9 bucket, means very close to upper boundary, they came down. But those that were above upper boundary, those went up further. From the bucket analysis pie chart, we know that market is bullish. 71% of S&P 500 stocks above the midline, mid Bollinger Band, and yesterday it was 69%. So it is a small change up. And if we look at the sector industry stock advanced decline, and we can see these are in real time, and these are equivalent numbers yesterday. So yesterday at stock level, it was balanced. You may say industry was also more or less balanced, more bullish than bearish, sector more bullish than bearish. More detail level is stock level, that was balanced. Today stock is more bullish. Industry sectors are also bullish. In real time, 7 sectors up, 4 are down. Yesterday, it was balanced, 6 up, 5 down. Which ones are up the most? Remember just a while ago, even before playing the calculations, even before streaming data, I was mentioning that healthcare was weak for a long time. So this is the time when Q traders will start to look at signs of reversal. And it happens that today healthcare is the best performer. Utilities is also up, but not as much as healthcare. So utility stocks also, Q traders would look for possible signs of up move, but that may not be today. Of course, I mentioned that sector sometimes sometimes hide the strength of industry. So you may look at industries also, but just at the sector level, it may be a good idea to look at healthcare sector stocks that was weak for a long time. Maybe some of the stocks, some of the industries are starting to go up. That is the home tab. Then we have primary sector scorecard, primary sector performance, sector and sector percentage tabs. Then alternate sector scorecard, alternate sector percentage, alternate classifications are with suffix 2. That is for sector, 4 tabs. If you are using drill down, usually you would use the primary sector only. Why again? Because that has more depth, more number of industries. So you will use the smart action button to go to the sectors, and then you may drill down to the industries using the industry button. Those are there in the sector scorecard tab also. So you will first look at sectors, then industries, then you will look at stocks either from QEdge or from QVital. If you use QVital, you are able to look at all liquid stocks, not just S&P 1500 stocks. So from sectors, you may go to the industries, drill down to the industries, that will be top down. You may look at primary industry scorecard. Again, scorecard means comparison of a industry with other industries and see which industry is relatively strong. Relative strength does not mean that industry is up. It just means it is doing better than another industry. If we want to know whether the industry is actually up or down, we may look at industry percentage. And two equivalent tabs for alternate industry and alternate industry performance. Now, do I always look at industry percentage or sector percentage? No, I don't do that, and you may not need that also. Why? Because when we are looking at the home page here in QEdge, we know a day is bullish or not. So on a bullish day, if I look at the strongest relative score industries, they are going to be up, because most of the industries, most of the industry sector stocks are up today. If I find the top 10 industries from industry scorecard, most likely they will be up anyway. So I don't need to look at industry percentage. However, I am always able to look at that if I need. But in my experience, the relative score is more important in trading than absolute percentage. Of course, we want to know whether industry is up or not, but in practical trading, you may often know that by this QEdge home tab view, and also because you are always keeping an eye every day on market ETFs, market futures, key global market breadth, and also technical breadth. You are looking at that every day, so you will know whether market is bullish. If it is a bullish, usually the strongest score industries will be up industries as well. But you could look at their percentage, and also very useful to look at their graph to see how an industry is changing over time. The graph tab is designed to look at one or maybe two industries at a time. It is not meant to look at hundreds of industries at the same time. That will be too cluttered. That's why it is often used when we carry out fundamental first workflow starting with Vital. So we find the best fundamental stocks. Maybe we look at their technicals, and then we want to look up their industry. When we look up their industry, usually I look at the graph first. I tend to be more visual than some other traders probably, so I look at graph first, but you could look at industry scorecard also, either way. But I tend to look at graph first because that graph shows me primary and secondary industry and industry percentage in one tab. Everything I can see, the 4 important insights I get from one tab, and then I look at the industry tab to see how it is rotating over longer period. The graph tab provides insight from, I think, 5-day to real time, 5-day, 2-day, 1-day real time, 4 periods. And I want to also see over much longer time, 1 year to 1 day, and then in real time, how the industry is rotating in or out of favor. That I get from industry scorecard. Industry percentage, I only go when I want to know the industry is up or down. Usually trading decisions are made from industry scorecard. Industry percentage is just to know whether the industry is up or not. That's for me. Those are the views or tabs. Now I have put streaming on. So let's use the smart action buttons. When you see 3 circles, that is related to sector. Solid buttons, primary sector. Cyan, scorecard, green color scheme is percentage. So let's look at the best performing sectors and also sector rotation over many periods. You may double click on any column header to sort by that column, double click again to reverse the sort order. And when I came to this tab, sector rotation tab, from home tab using the smart action button, it retrieved the data from cache. And you can see from the timestamp, usually you will not need to look at it. I'm just explaining that it is there, that when it got the data from cache. In cache, every time anything is updated, it is calculating in cache. When I click the smart action button, what was smart action button in this case? To drill down from market level to sector level, sector scorecard specifically, not performance. So I came to sector tab and it got the data from cache. It's also showing total number of 11 sectors in primary classification at present. And these pairs of numbers are showing over different periods, real time to 12 months, how many sectors are up, down. So over 12 months, every sector is up, nothing is down. Today, 7 up, 4 down. And 5-day is an important period. It represents a week. Of course, it is moving 5 days, not necessarily weekly period, moving 5 days. So over 5 days also, it's strong. 11 sectors up, nothing is down. The scorecard, relative scorecard of sectors are from this real time to month 12 periods. These are scorecards. Shows whether a sector is relatively doing better or worse. So today I can see the 2 best performing sectors are infotech and healthcare. Instantly I know it from color coding. And if you see bold case, you can see some of them are not in bold case or not in checkered background. By the way, if you are downloading this latest version of QEdge with this beautiful checkered background to make it easier to read the top 20 or bottom 20, you may please download Q Vital also. The integration became little more intelligent. It was very intelligent, but it became little more intelligent, even more. So you may download Q Vital as well from the download page. So we see that the best performing sectors are which ones, and then the pace columns at the right edge, they show the sector may not be strong, but is it accelerating? Sometimes if it is about racing, say horse racing or car racing, a car or horse that may be behind others, maybe right at the bottom, but if it is accelerating fast, it will soon overtake others. So that is why we have the pace columns, real time today and then over 2 days and 5 days. We may choose the best sectors in 2 ways. Either choose the strongest sectors or choose the ones may not be strongest today, but most accelerating. And it happens that healthcare, isn't it nice? I just by chance mentioned healthcare when I saw healthcare was down for a long time. Today, it is not only the best performing, but it is also the most accelerating. So that is a good time to start to look at that sector for buying. On the other hand, materials is not only the worst performing sector today, it is also most decelerating. So that may not be a sector where we like to buy stocks today. So that is how the scorecard is organized: 1 month to 1 day, and then real time, that is scorecard, and then the acceleration over real time, 2 day, 5 day. That is the sector scorecard. Now, before drilling down, let me show you that the same organization is there for the alternate sector scorecard also. Real time to 12-month and 3 pace columns. And remember, I mentioned alternate classification has a sector dedicated to academic and education services, and it was weak for a long time. Today it is stronger, the second most accelerating sector today. Also has 11 sectors, but the sectors are mostly same, but some different, like academic and education services is there in secondary classification, not in primary classification. And the same format is there for industry and alternate industry also. Currently, in alternate industry, you can see the number 120. There are 120 industries in the USA market using alternate classification. But if I look at primary classification, 147. And that is the reason I termed one as primary, one as secondary. Primary classification, because it has more depth, we are able to pinpoint industries better. So it has total industries, again for industry scorecard, real time to 12-month score, and then the base columns. And then we also have for industries the sector column, which sector the industries belong to. These are for the scorecard. Let's look at the percentage change tables. So this is for the sector. Again, the same 11 primary sectors, 12 months, then up to 1 day and real time, then the pace column showing acceleration, and on top of that it shows last 5 days percentage change, then previous 5 days. This is not 10 days. Here we have 5-day and 10-day percentage change, and here I see 5-day, compared that to previous 5 days percentage change, and then previous 2 weeks. It's not additive like in the scorecard areas. This is 5 days, previous 5 days, and then 2 weeks prior to that. You can have an idea how the sectors are moving. Same organization for the alternate sectors, performance tab, and also for the industries and alternate industries. As you can see from the industry performance tab, we also have the sector column. Now let's look at the stock scorecard. We have all the stocks, 1,505 stocks currently in QH based on S&P 1500, and this number is showing total 1505, how many up, how many down. This was the time when data was refreshed from cache. If I want to refresh right now, I could click the black button. Orange color buttons, they are integration with external app. Cyan buttons are smart action buttons that keep me inside the app, all these buttons. And then on the stock scorecard, we have the smart filter buttons. These are the combo buttons. Look for strongest or weakest fundamental stocks: crown jewel, 3-star, 1-star, bullish, green, bearish, red. Then the individual category buttons for valuation, quarterly earnings growth, annual earnings growth, quarterly revenue growth, fund, quarterly revenue useful only for newer IPOs, short squeeze, earnings nearby or not. Then 2 sorting categories: sort by pressure, bullish bearish, sort by percentage change, bullish bearish, and up or down. This is the vital panel. 80 to 90% of the time, all the trading decisions can be made in Q Technique from this vital panel. That's why it's called vital panel, and it has information from all the other panels. The other panels, how I navigate, you could navigate using the scroll bar at the bottom. I usually put my cursor somewhere here, then use the right arrow to move to the next panel. This is price performance, then growth, earnings revenue growth, fundamental ratios numbers, basic information, and the last panel filter button used for internal purposes only. Most of the time this vital first panel is enough. Lastly, the graph tab. When we look at all the industries in the graph tab, it is not legible. It is cluttered. That's not the way to use it. Usually I look at it was designed to look at one or maybe 1, 2, 3 graphs. 1, 2, 3 industries side by side. Usually when drilling down to stocks and then looking at the graph, but more frequently than that, when starting with fundamental first workflow, starting with vital, another program, then looking up the QH graph. That time I come to graph more often. As I mentioned, if I'm doing top down, I already know that my industry is strong before I come to stock. So I don't need to look up the graph, but I could if I wanted to. Now let's go back to the sector. And now I'm going to do a top down analysis. Why don't I start from the home page again? These graphs are updated in real time. So it is still bullish, about 60% plus across stock, industries, and sectors. I see healthcare is still the best performer, 1.5% up. So let's go to the sectors. Now, as I mentioned, sector, if I start drilling down from sector, it may hide some of the industry strength, because maybe in consumer discretionary, which is a very broad sector, some industry may be going up now, maybe turning around, or maybe turning down from the top. So if I just use the, let me sort, if I just use the 2 or 20% best performers, 20% worst performers, I may miss some important industry in consumer discretionary. That's why I usually do not like to drill down from sector level, but let me just demonstrate. Let's choose the 2 best performing, that is 20%, the checkered background and bold case. Usually I try to find trades from 20%, the top few sectors or industries. Usually you will find enough trades from them. So let's look at sectors, drill down to industries. 2 gears is industry. Cyan color will keep me in the app, so it will drill down to sector scorecard. It is context sensitive. If I drill down from sector scorecard, it takes me to industry scorecard. On the other hand, let me refresh the data. I am now on sector percentage tab. I could sort this one, choose the same 2 sectors, the best performing sectors. If I drill down to industries, if I drill down from sector percentage, it will take me to industry percentage. That's also context sensitive. If I drill down from sector scorecard, it will take me to industry scorecard. If I drill down from sector percentage, it will take me to industry percentage. As I mentioned, usually I work with the scorecards, and when I drill down, you see the other views got also updated. So I drill down from sector percentage, those 2 are highlighted, but they are also shown, only those are now shown in the sector scorecard. And if I go to stock, only stocks of that sector are now shown. If you see healthcare, infotech, only stocks of those 2 sectors. So when I drill down, it may take me to the next step. That's good. From sector percentage, it took me to industry percentage, showed me only industries of those 2 sectors, but it is also showing me smart filter data in all other tabs. So when I start top down from primary sectors, it does not relate to alternate sectors because there is no relation between primary sector to alternate sector. See, when I drill down from sector percentage, primary sector percentage, primary sectors are selected, primary industries are selected, primary industry percentage selected, stock is also selected, but secondary categories are not selected because they are entirely different classification. So sector 2, nothing selected. Sector, alternate sector percentage, not selected. Alternate industry percentage also not selected. Stocks are selected because stocks have both industry, alternate industry sector, alternate sector information. Usually again, let me go back to home. Usually I'll do the pure top down, though I may not use it in real trading. Pure drop down I may not use. I usually drill down from industries, but pure drill down, top down will be look at the strongest. Usually let's choose the 20% top two. You could choose based on acceleration also. So you could sort by acceleration and choose the top two, 20%. Some people like to find 2-day percentage change, especially if you are trading, start analyzing after market hours. Some people I know, they look at 2-day period. Some people who are investing even longer term may look at 5-day period. I have real-time access, so I like to look at real-time. And again, because I am looking at the market level insight every day, I tend to anticipate what is going to happen. So I'm able to use the real-time insight itself to look for buying candidates. And because I'm aligning fundamentals, technicals, industry, even seasonality, if I want to, everything together, it is okay, perfectly all right to use the real-time insight. The chance of hitting profit target remains high relative to chance of hitting stop loss. So let me do pure top down to strongest industries. Scorecard is enough. No need to look at percentage because it's a bullish day. These are the industries in those two sectors only. I double clicked and sorted. Again, choose the ones with bold case checkered background. Those are 20% of all industries. So I'm not looking at the other industries. 20% of all industries. How many? 147. And drill down to stocks in S&P 1500 using the sign button that will keep me inside the app. While I do that, before I do that, let me go to Vital. If I wanted to drill down to my liquid stock universe, I covered that in Q Vital session that I conducted earlier, masterclass. I have this list of liquid stocks. I would like to buy only from this list, 2,168 stocks, all liquid stocks, either mid price or high price. I have a list of low price stocks below $5, but they tend to be very speculative. I don't like to buy them. Also not like to short them below $5. So I like to buy from mid-high price stocks, short from mid-high price. So let's calculate a scorecard. So while it is calculating, let me go back to QH. I have the top 20% sectors, 2 in number. Then I have top 20% industries. These few, I highlighted them. You could highlight using any column, name, but usually I use the column that I am using to select. Here I am using the scorecard, so I am highlighting that column. Easier to do that. Drill down to the stocks in these industries. And see, that's why I told that when I'm doing top down from QH, I am already coming from sector to industries to stocks. I don't need to look at the graph again. Usually I don't look at the graph again. Now, these are the stocks in those strongest industries in two strongest sectors. Now let's see, 247 total stocks, 226 up, 20 down. So that's great. That means these industries are really strong. Remember, from home page, we had an idea that about 60% of all stocks are up. If I go back to home, about 61 now, 61 is changing in real time. 61% of stocks are up. But when I came from strongest sectors to strongest industry stocks, see the ratio 226 up, 20, only 20 down. And that's the value of top-down analysis. We are able to align trades with which industries are in favor. In this case, sectors also in favor, but industry favor is enough because sector sometimes hides an industry strength. So these are 226 stocks, but not all of them are fundamentally strong. Then I'll use the smart filters because there are plenty of stocks. I am using the crown jewel first, bullish crown jewel. And now I have 49 stocks. All of them are up. Excellent, isn't it? Now these 49 stocks, all are up. 49 is still a lot. We could look at 49 stocks using technical signals from QElite sonar using the grid button, but let me try to reduce the number, use the fund button. Let's say stocks where funds are bullish. So these are the stocks. How many I have left now? 26. Well, let's find some stocks that have short squeeze as well. Click the short squeeze smart filter. So I am left with 4. I could reset the filter on short squeeze. So 4, from 4 I could go back to 26. Let's take the 26 stocks to QElite. I click this grid button that copied not the definitive symbols but ticker symbols, and let's drop those symbols to QElite using Control V. And it will show me the technical signal. So I found the strongest sectors, then strongest industries in those sectors, very strong fundamental stocks in those industries, plus funds are bullish. And I have 26 stocks. Now I'm able to see whether they have some technical setup like breakout. And if you are using HSL like signals, you may also see maybe breakout with Mobo breakout, Kahuna from a squeeze. You can do all that. If you wanted to use integration with Q Finder, you could do that. Let's go back to Q Edge, the same stocks. And you see when I integrated with a system, external, the rows are highlighted. Why so? Because after investigation, if I am done with it, I don't want to keep them, I could press the delete key on the keyboard. So these are crown jewels. So I remove the crown jewels. Let's say I have already analyzed all the crown jewels. Now I release some restriction. I look for 3-star. I click the 3-star. Now I am left with some more stocks. All these are still having the fund filter. Okay, I have 8, 7 up, 1 down. Let me release the fund filter. Now I have many more. You can see 47, 41 up, 6 down. Let's use the plus button to just look at 41 stocks. These 41 stocks, these are what? These are 3-star. I could also use the individual combo button, individual category filters to do box stocks or other criteria. Now, if I want to integrate with Finder, I didn't run Finder in real time, but I could either highlight some of the rows of my interest, or if I put my cursor on the header of the symbol column, that means system understands I'm interested in looking up all the symbols in view. So let's look up the Finder signals. Because it is mostly bullish stocks that I selected, again, it is context sensitive. It took me to Finder bullish tab. And this is not of today's data. I ran Finder as of yesterday's close. Yesterday, you can see the Finder was 63% bearish. But if you ran Finder in real time, you will be able to very much integrate with Edge to find best sectors, best industries, best fundamental, and then best technicals. Why do I use Finder a lot? Because I am not restricted to few hundred stocks. I can get technical signals for thousands of stocks in real time. That is not possible with TradeStation. Radar is real time, but it cannot handle thousands of stocks in real time. So I did pure top-down analysis. Let's go back to home. Just for the sake of it, let's use alternate sector. Usually I don't drill down to percentage table, but I will show you one thing. I'm going to alternate sector scorecard. Not usually something that I do, just for demonstration. These are alternate sectors, again 11 sectors. Choose the best performers, healthcare and real estate. See, in this classification, Infotech didn't come to the top. Healthcare, real estate. Let's drill down. Okay, healthcare is the common one in primary and secondary both. Sort by real time again. For the industries in these two sectors, now real estate, healthcare, choose the strongest ones. Go to the stocks. I could go to the stocks, but this case I will take you to QVital so that I can drill down to all the stocks from liquid stock universe. But before that, I wanted to show you one thing. I have this best performing industries into best performing sectors. If I wanted to know their percentage, I could just click this button and see that these industries are actually up top 20%. But go back to scorecard. Most of the time, as I mentioned, the strongest industries will be up because we already know from home tab if the market is bullish. Accordingly, we are doing top down. So when I selected the strongest industries, I knew most of the time that will be true, that the industries would be up. Relative score would also mean up industry. And from these best performing industries, in this case, I'm using alternate industry. Let's drill down to all liquid stocks of these industries. And I'm using the orange button, also peer analysis, but that will take me to Vital, all the liquid stock universe. What I see, 434 stocks, 338 up, 94 down. That's a lot of stocks. Let's use Crown Jewel. Great, isn't it? See, nothing is down. That's why I like to buy Crown Jewels if I have. If not, then go to 3-star. If not, go to 1-star. But 1-star is also good enough, as I mentioned. But 37 Crown Jewels, this is from Enter Liquid Stock Universe. And now I could also open them with charts. Let's choose the stocks that are up by at least 3%. Click the chart button that will integrate with Q Global, and I'll open the charts. And we have this unambiguous checklist for Qtrade setups. When I look at the chart, you can apply the checklist and see if there is a low risk trade setup. Also, which doesn't have a resistance nearby. So it seems many of the stocks have resistance. Telnet Healthcare doesn't have a resistance nearby. If it closes bullishly, we could consider buying it. Dynavax Technology, DVAX, that's also looking good. It has a go with flow long setup as of now. And Nuva. Nuva has a triple bottom, so I would not mind looking at it using the 3-chart template. This is looking good, isn't it? The more you study the charts also, you will start to have a feeling what kind of stocks are going to give a possible low risk buy setup. And you see, I looked at daily chart and chose this, and now I see weekly has a fantastic trend line support, watermark support, daily triple bottom with at the right hand side, bull release indecision at the bottom, that is bullish, very bullish shape candle. So that way, that is the way we do top-down analysis. Now I did pure top-down, started with sectors, and I came to only two sectors, isn't it? Either real estate, healthcare, if I use alternate classification, or it was healthcare and infotech using primary classification. But what I usually do, I go to home, I look at the sectors. Okay, let's do that again. From home, I go to the sectors. Usually I'm just looking at primary. Secondary ones I look at only when an industry's primary classification doesn't seem right. A stocks industry doesn't seem so. Sector, I look at the sectors, fine, I sort by it. I have an idea, infotech, healthcare, but I don't drill down. I just go to the industries. And here I sort by real time. And I will show you one thing. I sorted by real time. Okay, double click again to reverse the sort order. Click the number 10 and read out the sectors from the right. There, healthcare, I understand. That was very strong. Infotech, I understand. But see, utilities is there, industrials is there, energy is there. That's what I meant when I said that if I just drill down from sector only, then some of the strong industries will be hidden. So let's see industrials, agricultural and farm machinery. That was weak for a long time. Today it is the third strongest. Should I not take advantage of that? I think I should. Any trader would like to, if not should, would like to, because it is a possible turnaround. Similarly, utilities, independent power producer, energy traders. It was the worst performer yesterday. Today it is among top 10. Should I not look into that? I think I should look into that if I'm an active trader. That's why I don't drill down from sectors. I look at sectors, that's good insight, but I like to look at industries. One way is to drill down to the top 10 industries. If it's a very bullish day, top 10 industries enough. Otherwise, you could scroll down to the bold case, checkered background, that is top 20%. And then again, let's drill down to our liquid universe stocks. 642, 553 up, 84 down. Let's look for crown jewels. See, the ratio is much better. That is what is important. It shows that fundamentally strong stocks, that way Vital decides fundamentally strong stocks, they really matter. The ratio changes drastically in our favor. Let's look at it again. All stocks we know from QH, we have an idea, 64% up now. But if I look at the top 20% industries, drill down to all liquid stocks, then look at crown jewel, it's much better than 64%, isn't it? Out of 68, 65 up. So industry strength matters, and this fundamental strength, the way Vital calculates it, matters. And now I may again look at their technicals, either using QElite or QFinder or QChart. Now, if I like a stock, let's say this first one, ATH, up by the maximum percentage among crown jewel, 7.3. Let's check its seasonality using this seasonality. Look up seasonality. That will integrate with seasonality to check the stock seasonality. Seasonality is not good. However, it doesn't have enough data anyway, only 4 years of data. So we are not going to use seasonality for that. Let's clear it, go back to Vital. Now, if I wanted to look up the graph, remember I said from Vital, usually I look up the graph. So if I wanted to look up the industry graph, single cog, so I'm on ATH, anywhere on ATH is enough. Click the single cog or gear that will show me the industry graph from real time to 5 days. Both primary, secondary industries, very useful visual insight. Life and health insurance, primary industry, the same is secondary industry. Score, relative score is nicely improving, and the percentage change is also improving in real time. And you can read the legend, real time, 1 day, 2 day, 5 day. Today it is up by 1.5%. And once I look at the graph, then I will like to, usually I like to look at the scorecard, rotation over longer time. If primary industry is the right industry, usually I just look at primary industry. Only in cases like in solar stocks, primary may be misleading, semiconductor, then I may look at secondary industry scorecard. Usually I just look at primary industry scorecard and I say it was weaker earlier, today it is this. Bold case checkered background shows it is among the top 20%. If I want to see the percentage change, how it is changing, I could click the smart action button again to see how it is changing over time. That is how you use QEdge. Extremely powerful because it is 100% real time. Very unique because it shows sector industry rotation in two classifications. Mostly the primary classification is used, but in some cases you may use secondary classification. The graphs are very useful, and the ability to integrate with QFinder, QRadar, Sonar, Q seasonality, QVital. They provide you with everything you need in 100% real time. I think I covered all the key things about QEdge. There are few other context sensitive things. If I refresh all the stocks in stock tab using the refresh button, let's do another search. Let's look for another investigation. Let's look for stocks with short squeeze potential that funds are buying, and then find the stocks going up with biggest pressure today. Sort by pressure. So these are the stocks. Let's choose some of them. Okay. Okay. We have now, I can read from the number 50 stocks up, 22 down. Let's look only at the up stocks. So 50 up. 50 is also a large number. Okay, then let's apply the individual filters. Let's look for undervalued stocks. 21 up. Okay, now it is looking good. Let's use the individual filters now. Let's look for earnings growth in the last quarter. Let's look for revenue growth in the last quarter. So in effect, I found crown jewel, but using individual buttons. Crown jewels because undervalued, earnings growth, revenue growth. Short squeeze potential, funds are buying. Now I may look up their industries. If I put my cursor on the header column, I could go to industry graph or industry. Let's look at the graph. You will see that if the industries are too many, the graph may be cluttered. So usually that is not how I use the graph tab. I usually just look up the rotation. You see it is too cluttered. So let's go back to stock. If too many industries, then the graph is cluttered as expected, but the rotation is still very useful. So let's look up the rotation. So you may navigate in many different ways. So what I did in this case from stock tab, which had S&P 1500 stocks in QEdge, I found the strongest stocks with bullish fund ownership, short squeeze. Now I looked up their industries. And if I sort by 1 day, I see only 3 industries of those very strong stocks are in top 20%. Now I could go back to go back to the Q edge stocks, or I could also navigate to Q Vital for these industries. So there are different ways. And in Q Vital, now I have the full liquid stocks. Again, I could find Crown Jewel, fund ownership, short squeeze. So I have 7 stocks, 6 up, 1 down. It's just look at 6 up stocks and then look at their charts. So very easy to use. Different ways you may use them. I'm demonstrating different ways of using them, but probably you will find the simplest ways. By the way, DQ is having a nice breakout as of now. Usually you will just stick to a drill down from industry level to either S&P 1500 stocks or entire liquid stock universe. Usually you will have only one workflow, very simple workflow like that. You will not have convoluted like from edge, look up industry, then go to vital. Usually you will not do that, but I just use that for demonstrating the power of the systems. In practice, I will usually do top down starting with Q edge and look at sectors, but actual drill down from industries. Okay, I think I covered everything that I planned to cover. Let's look at the topics again. Q edge, what it is a very, very powerful tool to look at market level insight, then go to sectors. If market is bullish, find the best sectors, then go to industries, find the best industries, best performing industries, go to stocks, find the strongest stocks, and do the reverse. If market is weak, find the weak sectors, find the weak industries, find the weak fundamental stocks, and then combine with other systems to look for weak technical or strong technical, as the case may be. Underlying platform data we covered, certainly USA market, but all major other countries as well, it can be used. Organization, convention makes it easy to use using intuitive colors. Input only country, smart action buttons, create the scorecard, not only stock, but industry scorecard, sector scorecard, smart filter buttons, act on the scorecard, and the workflow, very powerful workflow, top-down workflow. Actually, 360 degrees workflows are all equivalent, whether you start with top-down as you would do in Q edge, or fundamental first as you would do using Q Vital first, or technical first using Q Elite Radar, Sonar, or Q Finder. Whatever be the first point, they are all equivalent because finally you end up aligning all the forces together. So top down, is it the best? Not necessarily. Top down, bottom up, fundamental first, doesn't matter so long as you complete all the steps one by one. And using Q edge, integrating with other systems is very easy to do. Q edge you will use for top down workflow. Thank you once again. Have a great day. And as I always say, no reason not to do that. Trade profitably. Thank you.